What's up, people? This podcast is brought to you by Audible. Feel free to grab yourself a free audiobook and support the podcast at the same time by going to audibletrial.com/Courtney Diamond. I am currently listening to The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. It's the first book in a really incredible fantasy series that I first read many years ago, maybe late teens, maybe early 20s. Not sure. I've lost track of all time and space. But you know what? It's really taking on a new life for me because I get to hear it read by a person with a British accent. And who doesn't love that? But always remember that you can get any other book for free by going to audibletrial.com/Courtney Diamond. And I will put that in the description for your convenience. Now, for this podcast, I sat down to chat with a previous coworker of mine and a very talented man. He's a stand-up comedian, actor, previous winner of the San Diego's Funniest Person contest, a writer, and he has his own podcast called The Kept Faith. And you know what? He's just a really nice guy. It was awesome to sit down and have some genuine conversation with him about creative journeys and making big changes, among other things. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this conversation I had with my friend Dallas McLaughlin. Well, that's a long drive.
You know what's weird is that everybody thinks I moved to L.A.
They think you moved there? Why?
Like, I don't know why. I have no idea. I've literally said nothing about being there or going there probably in 7 years.
Maybe because you're in the entertainment life. It's like they assume if you leave...
Then you're going to L.A.
If you leave, then you must be going to L.A.
Well, yeah, of course.
This is what a lot of people do.
But here's what's weird. I am moving to L.A.
You are?
No, but I just want to keep the rumor going as long as I can.
But you are moving next week? That's cool.
I'm moving next week to LA.
That's pretty cool.
Right to Hollywood, right on Hollywood Boulevard.
That's how you have to do it.
I'm moving above Madame Tussauds Wax Museum.
Oh, I hear that's the best spot to move if you're going to go.
It's very LA.
Yes, that's no doubt.
Smells. Weird smell.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that wax smells.
Isn't it weird with Hollywood? I remember the first time I ever went, and I was like, I thought this was supposed to be like beautiful and glorious and majestic out here, but Hollywood itself
sucks.
Can be kind of gross.
Not kind of. You're being polite.
I'm kind.
It is. It's disgusting. I like to call it. I like to call Hollywood the land that time forgot. Like it was built in 1972, and then no one tried to clean it since, or update it.
Yeah.
Like anytime they put a new restaurant on Sunset or Hollywood, they basically it's the cleanest that part of that street will ever be because they clean the building, they slap a new coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
And then, but also they just forget about that too.
But everything outside just falls to pieces.
Like you see street sweepers, but you're like, where is it? It's not going anywhere. You're not cleaning anything.
Do they have anywhere to put it anymore? It's just
they don't.
It's just
into the air.
It's just too crowded.
It's just too crowded.
It's so freaking weird.
Yeah, we got to get rid of the illegals. What's this podcast about? Just kidding.
It goes right into it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's the one thing about downtown LA too. Spent some time down there, and I was like, it smells like pee everywhere.
Awful.
What's going on?
Well, see, now downtown LA is on the up and up. It used to literally be a place for homeless people to live. And then they built the Staples Center there. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, are we supposed to do stuff in downtown LA again? And over the last 10 or 15 years, people have started to go back there.
That's what it feels like with Petco Park moving into the East Village area of downtown. Yeah. I used to live down there when they were building that stadium.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I lived in Park Loft, which is literally right across the street from it.
Look at you, high living.
Hey, for us, high school? How old was I? A child.
I don't know. 22? I don't know.
I was young. I was young when we lived there. But there was nothing in that area. It was just dirt and little tiny patches of grass for my dog to use the restroom in. That's about it. Full construction.
Yeah.
And then after that, now it's like everybody wants to move down there. Not everybody, but...
Not everybody, but they do
some people
build
really
a lot of apartments, don't they?
Tons.
And then it costs a lot. I had a friend that lived down there after Petco was built. And she had a little apartment, and it was so expensive.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't understand the appeal.
Of tiny, expensive apartments?
Or downtown San Diego.
I liked it when I was 21.
Everybody likes it when they're 21.
Because I at one point lived 2 blocks away from Market Street. So I'm next to all the clubs, and you're just excited because you can be in a bar scene. Yeah. But now it just sounds awful.
Yeah, it is awful.
It sounds awful.
When I do comedy downtown, I literally walk around and I'm to get to the shows.
Yeah.
And I just hate everything I see. It's just you know what I mean? I don't like most things in general. That's just how I've lived my life because I'm tired all the time. And I just I walk through downtown and I'm like, oh God, all of your lives are awful. And I know that I'm judging.
Like, I'm guessing what their day is like, but
Yeah. And I know what their day is like. They all have jobs that they kind of like that pays them, enough money to go out and do what they're doing.
Yeah.
And then wake up in the morning and like tweet out like, "Oh, I'm so hungover, bro," or whatever. You know what I mean? And then we're supposed to think they're rad.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
There's some crazy stat that says that like, what was it, like 90% of people, I am making that number up, but it's a lot of people that are paycheck to paycheck that are just kind of getting by, even though they may make decent amounts of money.
Yeah.
But especially in a kind of city like this, or LA or New York, it's just so expensive to live here.
Yeah, like you literally have to live in those cities because you want to live in those cities. Yep. Like there's no other choice for you. Mm-mm. Because right now, it is getting to the point where like, well, why are you here? Like unless you really love the beach or the Padres or the Gulls.
Everybody always says they love the weather.
Yeah.
Our moderate weather, and we're almost LA, but not.
Yeah, those
it's like
are
people
all...
like to be close to LA, but they don't want to live directly.
I don't blame them.
If you move directly to LA, you move there for a purpose. Nobody goes there just for giggles. Like you usually want to be in that industry.
You're supposed to, yeah.
Yeah.
But see, that's the other thing that makes me sad about going to LA is that I go to LA and I drive, I'll go for a show or something and I'll drive around and I'll see like all these, either homeless people or like crazy people. And I'm like, oh, these are all the people who didn't make it. You know what I mean?
Oh, dang.
Or they're extremely famous actors that just no one knows anymore and this is now their lives. Because I don't know if it's true, but I'm willing to bet money that it kind of might be.
That it could be.
Because what happens to you if you go to LA and you spend 20 years going, I'm going to make it, and you don't? Like what happens,
That's the weird part, and people tell you to like follow your dreams, and people go out there and they're like, well, I'll do it, and I'll do it for as long as it takes. Like, when is the cutoff? Do you stop at any point trying? Do you accept that?
Well, it's all the way or none of the way.
I agree to that.
Because, it's true. Like, you're just going to, like, yeah. So anyway, I'll see you later. Like, you can have hobbies, you know what I mean? Obviously, everybody has hobbies.
Yeah.
Like, you can have your hobbies, and those hobbies can be things that you enjoy doing, theater or podcasting or switch twitches, whatever
Switch twitches.
it is that you do. You'll have to explain it. But it's one of those things where you'll never do what you love to do as a job if you never try to do it that way.
Right.
And some people just wait too long and then they're like, oh, I have a family or I have actual bills and I have to do something. And you kind of get stuck. And that's when people become crazy and homeless. But that's why I think it's like there is a cutoff point, but it's different for everybody. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
It's a tricky one because you know why that's immediately depressing is because you don't want to be like, well, you get 5 years and then if it doesn't work out, then go ahead and get yourself a job in finance. Okay. That's
yeah.
You should be all right there because why would you ever want to think that way? That's not the way to think about life.
No, but it does help to be a realist to some degree.
It does, but you can have a way to make money and then still do everything else. Sometimes people think, I'll just stop doing what I love entirely.
Well, there's like right now I'm doing, I'm not doing a lot of stand-up. And I was doing stand-up for years and years. Mm-hmm. And I got to, and I'm going to be very boastful, but I got to a point in San Diego where it's like, well, I can't really do anything else.
Right.
Like, I've done all this stuff here. I've been booked on all the shows here. And then you just start circling, you're kind of just staying there.
Right.
Like, logically, the next step would be to go to LA or New York or Chicago, somewhere that there's a lot of stand-up. But then, like, also at the same time, I'm like, I like doing stand-up, but would I want to be, like, a stand-up? Like, would I want to, like, really try hard to, like, have specials and go on the road and stuff? Like, I guess, but then I don't feel like I'd ever be better than the people who are actual professional like, who are actually, like, I know we're not supposed to talk about him, but Louis C.K. Hashtag me too. And... like, or Greg Fitzsimmons even, who's a very, very funny stand-up who has been doing it forever. This is his career. I don't know if I'm as funny as those guys or I even could be as funny as those guys if I really bear it down and try to do it. So, like, for me right now, I'm going through this thing where I just kind of stopped doing stand-up for a little while for the last few months. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know. That's fine.
You're not sure if you really want to full on do it.
Yeah, like I don't know if I want to do it anymore because like that's the point where it's like you can do these things as hobbies. Like you can definitely have a day job and then do the things that you like to do at the end of the day. But then you have to think like, well, what I'm putting effort into this. So like what is the end result of that hobby? If it's something like a stand-up or if it's something like you're like podcasting and stuff, like it takes a big commitment to do these kinds of hobbies. Like playing video games and stuff. Like, no offense, I play MLB The Show all the time.
Yeah.
Like, that's a fun hobby that literally will lead me nowhere. And I know that going in.
Yeah.
And so, like, I get that kind of thing. But I get maybe that's why people like to go to bars and party so much downtown, is because they literally, there's no goals in that except for maybe getting laid, I guess. But
I guess, man. It gets, every time I think I want to go out to a club, and I'm plan a night, and I'm like, all right, let's go. We're going to go to a real nightclub. It's going to be great. Man, I'm there for about 30 minutes, and I go,
Well, especially nowadays, like where you just go to a club, like you wait 45 minutes in a line to get into a club so everyone can just stare at their phones. Ugh. Like, I don't get it.
Ugh. I'm not good at waiting in lines for clubs.
Well, you shouldn't.
If I see that, I'm like, I'll go someplace else.
I don't get it.
I'm like, well.
I don't know. Taco Bell sounds good.
Yeah.
I don't get the waiting in line. I don't get waiting in line at all. I am the worst at waiting in line.
Yeah, they're creating prestige.
I can't do it. I won't do it. If there's a line, I just won't do it.
Yeah, that's how I feel at the Comic-Con too now. I worked at the Comic-Con for a bunch of years, and the people that wait for the panels just to go see them, answer questions, these people are in line like all day.
Yeah, all day.
So your whole Comic-Con day is spent in a line to go see like one panel, and then if you can stay in that room if you really want to see some other people.
Hall H.
Yeah, but then you're kind of trapped there, and I'm just not good at that. Because I worked there for a while and I didn't have to wait in line, and now I got spoiled, and now I can't do it.
But see, like, I've never thought to myself, like, what, like, because the benefit of that used to be, before everyone had phones and all that stuff, the benefit of that used to be that you would hang out in a line for 5-6 hours, and then you go into a room and you'd get to see some cool people and maybe get some trailers or something. But now everything's up within like 2 minutes.
Literally, you can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah. And like the Comic-Con does it. Like Comic-Con puts it up. And so you're like, well, okay, well then what was the point of me doing that?
They're just trying to breathe the same air.
Yeah, just to sit 1,000 feet away from Jack Black. Like, was that the reason why? Like, have him not wave at me. Like, it just doesn't, I don't get it. Yeah. And that's like, I always outweigh, like, what is the point of any of this? Yeah. Like when I'm like going to someplace, like if I'm going to a club, and I'm very spoiled because I like being in entertainment and industry and stuff. Usually I won't ever go anywhere unless I know that I can get in through another door.
Oh, sure. Because you don't want to get there and
I don't want to I just don't like it. And just like, oh, why are we doing this? Like immediately, if I'm given 2 seconds to think about why I'm going into a building, then I won't usually go into that building.
Then I go home.
Yeah.
Reconsider it fully. Do you get like minor celeb treatment places?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's cool.
You're like, that's the best part of everything.
You ever heard of SeaWorld, but I get treated like a kid. Got some free cupcakes today. It's not a big deal.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, I get a little bit of celeb treatment places, but it's not, but nothing to really boast about. Like, I mean, like,
I'm sure there's cool stuff.
Well, because I've had so many different weird jobs, like I worked in radio for a long time, so I can get tickets to most things I want to go to.
That's a nice perk.
Yes. And the other day I hit a friend up and I was like, hey, I need tickets to this concert. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And so like, those are nice things that happen. And it's not really a celeb thing, although I don't know.
Well,
like, I feel like if I worked
bonuses.
in the promotional department, they wouldn't have cared. Yeah. But like the fact that I was on the air and had some kind of a name for a while, you know what I mean? Like,
it's got a different amount of clout that comes with it.
A little bit.
It's just what it is. It's how we are.
When I go to comedy clubs, I get in, and so there is a little bit of stuff here and there where I get that, but I don't really get, like, people don't really come up to me on the street and be like, oh my God, hey, like, you're from Courtney's podcast. Yeah. Can I take a picture? And then I go,
yeah, the number one credit for sure.
Yeah, might be. Who knows?
So you're not doing stand-up right now. What else are you doing? It looks like you're in the podcasts a lot.
Because you're looking at me on a podcast right now? Is that why?
No,
Looks like you're really into podcasts right now.
It seems like this is a thing you're doing right here in this moment. Is that a thing you do often?
Yeah, I've been doing, so I took a little break from stand-up. I hosted a show at Lestat's the other night, which was nice to do. And then, what's today? Tomorrow night I'm doing stand-up for the first time in like 2 months.
Oh, where?
At a place called, it's a secret location. There's a show that happens once a month called The Bad Bad Show.
Okay.
And it's a secret location. The only way you can find out where it is if you reserve tickets. And it's at a house somewhere in San Diego, and I don't know where it is.
They're going to send me the location 30 minutes before
They probably will. But it's a good show. It's really fun, and I've hosted a bunch of them. And so tomorrow I'll be hosting it. But I'm going to do some new material up in the front that I've been working on and stuff. Here's the thing about stand-up. Like, you know stand-up. You've seen a bunch of stand-up.
I've seen a lot of it.
Yeah. So, like, sometimes you look at stand-up and you're like, it's just the same thing. And you just get real bored. And here's what happened, Gorney. I'm going to tell you.
I'm listening.
When I started doing stand-up, it was a dare. So, like, we dared each other to go do stand-up because we were doing sketch comedy at the time. Mm-hmm. And we were working on all these characters. And people were like, hey, let's all write each other's stand-up. And then you have to do what was written for you. And we were like, all right. So we all sat in a room. We came up with all these characters and these jokes and these bits. And then I went up on stage and I did it. And it like went really, really well.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, maybe I should do stand-up. And me and my friend Gorney, who we just ended up doing a ton of characters. And that's all we were doing on stand-up. We weren't really trying to be like quote unquote stand-ups. And it just kept getting better. And then the one thing that I did seemed to work better than everything else, which was doing one-liners and taking really elaborate pauses between the one-liners. And it just seemed to resonate. And then after like a year of that, I got really bored and I started doing all this other stupid stuff. And then I just started doing crowd work because I was even more bored. And I'm like, oh, I might as well just start talking to the crowd and like mess with the crowd. And
yeah.
And then like I was like, oh, I'll work on stories and bits and stuff. So it's all like I'm just completely restless, which isn't good if you want to be like a popular stand-up because people want to see Jim Gaffigan be Jim Gaffigan.
That particular thing.
Yeah, they don't want to see Jim Gaffigan come out and just do crowd work or something. You know, that's not really what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of where I'm at right now, where it's like and when I haven't been really drinking much. I've been my lifestyle has changed a lot in the last year.
You're all kinds of healthy.
All kinds of healthy. And one of the big reasons I did stand for a long time was to drink for free. And that was like in all of my contracts. And like I just love, because I like alcohol a lot.
Yeah.
And
I'm there with you.
Right? It's fun.
It.
Drinking's fun.
Yeah.
And like that's why I did bands and music. Was I'm like, oh, we get free beer? Like what?
I'll do it just for that.
Exactly. It's great. Like anywhere I went, I would just be drinking. And in the last year, I've really toned that down. And I get up on stage, and like there's like 6 months, I think it was, where I didn't have a drop of liquor.
Yeah.
And I was doing stand-up in that time. Well, stand-up for me at the time was like bringing alcohol on stage and drinking on stage and being drunk before I got up most of the time. And it just was like this whole weird new world. And one of the first sober sets I did was with Chris Hardwick, who is also very sober. And so we kind of sat in the back and talked about it a little bit. And he was like, yeah, you just feel like you're so free. Like he's like, because you can do whatever you want. Because you can actually like understand what you're doing. And I'm like,
you're present?
Yeah, because you're present. And I'm like, that's a really good, okay. So like, and I did feel that. And then it was almost like I was too present where I'm like, oh, like, I don't know if I'm that funny.
Oh, you're getting two in your head.
Yeah, like, and it's not like I was bombing. Like people, I'm not, like I said, not to be boastful. I'm a good stand-up. I can do it for work. So I'm that good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm not
good.
Great, but I'm good enough to do it as a job.
What did you win that? San Diego's
funniest person.
Yeah, I was right.
Male? Did you say male?
Sorry, that is so.
Are we going over time? You just looked at the clock.
No, I just don't check.
Jesus. No, you're right. It's been about 10 minutes. San Diego's funniest male. Yeah. And it's not my fault females didn't make it into the finals. That's not my fault. San Diego's funniest person. And I won that a couple of years ago. But anyway, so like, I'm funny enough to do that. But then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do more than that. Like, it was just like, I don't know if, and then I started thinking about it. And then I did a set, like one of the last sets I did 2 months ago. One of the comics who hadn't seen me in a long time. He's a younger guy, not as seasoned in stand-up as I am, but he came up to me after one of the sets and he was like, hey man, that was pretty good. Like, it was different. And I was like, yeah. And I was feeling good about myself because the set went well.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's weird now that you're not drinking. And I'm like, yeah, totally. It feels different up there. And he's like, yeah, it just feels more safe. It feels like you're kind of more in control. I'm like,
that's kind of the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was disappointed.
I couldn't gauge whether he was disappointed or not, but then I was disappointed.
Right.
And it like totally fucked me up because
like, am I still as funny? Is it not coming off the way I want
it to? I
to?
immediately felt not as funny. Yeah. And I haven't gotten that feeling back since that set.
This one man.
That's how it works though. I ended a relationship with a stand-up because we fought for no reason at all.
Yeah.
It's just two prideful people being prideful. But
that can be tricky.
But it's because they say something and you respect them enough where you're taking what they said for truth.
Yeah.
to be true, and then they were just joking with you, and then but it's as a stand-up, I like you can't like if anyone comes up to me afterwards and goes, "Hey man, good set," I'm like, "Fuck you!" Like I just don't want to hear.
Just don't believe it.
I don't believe anything that anyone says to me ever.
I can understand that now with several of the comedians that I've gotten a chance to hang out with a little bit. I'll see them go on stage, and then they seem to do a really amazing job. And I'm sitting in the audience, hearing everybody laughing, having a great time. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's going great. They get off stage, and they're immediately like, "Oh God, I didn't say that one joke right, and it just wasn't. Just wasn't. I feel like that guy in the front row wasn't feeling it." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like that looked very successful what you just did.
It's torture,
and you just got way in your head. I can only imagine.
It's torture. It is like." Since improv started getting really big in the last like decade, improv troops are like insufferable to be around because they're so positive and like they're so together and they're just like, no, that was good, that's like riff, like like hey, we're in a cave, like and they have such a good time. And stand-ups kind of hate improvisers because they're so happy. And it's not right.
And how dare they?
How dare they?
And
like we're just miserable people because that's the thing you don't understand it. Like the only way to really understand it, honestly, is to get up on stage and do it.
Right.
Even one time, and then you'll get it. Because I did the stand-up one time, and from that one time, you either go, I got to do this again, or I never want to do this again.
That was the most terrifying thing in my whole life.
There's no middle ground. We're like, maybe I'll try it again. Like it's just there. You are going one way or another, and it is an awful thing to do because you get up there and it's like a drug if you like it. I mean, it's literally like a drug where it gave you this high. You maybe had one person laugh once, and that was enough for you to keep going. Mm-hmm. And then like you're at a position where I'm at where I can come into a show in San Diego and do 45 minutes and just murder for like 45 minutes straight. Just completely kill. The entire crowd is just on my side. Everyone's laughing, and then there's one guy who just stared at me the whole time. I'll consider that set a failure because he just stared at me.
Yeah.
I gotta get a standing ovation and pictures and all that shit. And I'd be like, no, that one dude, like, can you believe that, man? He was just staring at me. And then all the other comics be like, yeah, dude, that sucks, man. That guy sucked. And like, we're all just talking about that guy.
That's so funny. That's got to be a characteristic of people that want to be comedians, though.
Just being
There's
miserable?
Gotta be some certain traits. No, just, I don't know. That's just like, it's this hyper focus on almost like a perfection on stage.
Yes. You want to be perfect because we grow up seeing perfection. That's the thing. As a stand-up, you grow up seeing Chris Rock, Chris Rock, and Steve Martin, and these guys who are just perfect on stage.
But what if they're perfect on stage and they had that one guy that was sitting in the front row and you didn't see him?
They totally did. They 100% did. There's a great in the Dave Chappelle's last special that he put on Netflix. There's the two versions, and the one version is when he's in the it's something about Asian. He does a thing about Asian people, and he pisses off one lady in the front, and he's talking to her, and like he devotes like a good 3 minutes to that lady, and you're like, dude, you're Dave Chappelle. There's 3,000 people here on your side.
Like, how is she getting any kind of attention
exactly.
Right now?
That's the thing. It's always something. And I honestly believe it's because we didn't have the perfect childhood growing up. Like, we never got the attention we wanted.
Oh, so you're like, so I'm going to get it now.
I'm going to get it now. And then the one person who doesn't like us is like our fathers or something. You know what I mean? It's like, it's always embodied.
Psychological thing.
Yeah, it's weird. That's just me.
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
But anyway,
makes perfect sense.
So I love stand-up comedy is just wonderful. I mean, it is really a beautiful thing, and there's a great group of people. But there is a thing, just like anything, where when you start to take something seriously, like I don't know if you play Twitch for money, because people actually make so much money playing games.
Yeah, I have an affiliate channel now, which means it's monetized.
See, look at you.
Yeah.
So but there comes a point where you're like, oh well, now I have to do this.
Yep.
And I have to be entertaining or good. I'm not sure which one is the need for Twitch. Like, I don't even need to be good, but
I think it's just people got to enjoy you.
Enjoy you.
People have to enjoy you. They want to show up and see that you're there, just like a TV show.
Exactly.
You set a time, and people show up and they watch you. It's like watching their favorite show at night. It's a strange world that we live in now.
It is,
and all these different kinds of jobs that are appearing that you can live off of are kind of really interesting.
It's crazy. But I don't know how long you've been doing that. How long has your channel been?
A few months.
So there'll become a time probably down the road where you're going to feel like a little bit of a strain.
I already feel that.
Okay, well, there you go. There. Where it's like, yeah, I have to do this now. And it's no longer 100% fun. Maybe it's like 80% fun. And then it's up to you where that goes from there. And anything is like, that's why people are like, just do what you love. Just find a way to get paid for your love. I'm like, anytime you start getting paid for anything, it's your love goes down a notch.
Like, oh my God. And you know, it's that weird thing when you start to get paid for something creative. Some people are like, they feel like a fraud. Like, oh, how dare somebody pay me for this? I didn't think, even though they think you might be very good at it.
Yeah.
And have no problem paying you for
Yeah.
the service that you are providing in whatever way. You're just like, oh my God, I can't, is it good enough?
Yeah.
Is it good enough? Like, that's the whole process of everything.
And that's the thing with like stand-up is it's constantly, you get to the point where you're starting to make actual money, and then just like all the little group, the camaraderie you had, like it kind of starts to split off because maybe one guy's jealous that he didn't get what you got. Or I mean, I get jealous of friends all the time who move to LA and they party all night and go do 18 different stand-up shows in that night, and they come back and they sleep till noon and they get up and eat sausages and go, you know, like do it all over again, you know? And I get jealous of that, sure. But then like that makes me love the job less. And then the feeling where like, oh, I have to do it, that makes me love it less. And then like this with the fraud thing, it's like totally true. Like sometimes you like do a set and you don't have a good set and you're like, oh, dude. Like I've done before, I've had terrible sets and I've gone up to promoters and bookers and been like, you don't have to pay me for that. Don't worry about it. And they're like, no. What are you talking about? It was great. I'm like, I know it wasn't great. You know it wasn't great. Like
I'm that same kind of person though. I have to feel like I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Strange though.
It's not strange. We have to feel worthy.
I guess we do.
It's strange that I feel bad when I do badly.
I don't know. I guess I meet some people that don't mind either way. They're like, I showed up.
Yeah, well, that's...
I showed up. It was fine. It was good enough.
Yeah, just go to Chipotle. You see those people working behind the counter.
Yeah.
I'm here. This is enough, right? Here's your scoop of beans.
I'm surviving. I'm surviving day by day. Yeah, that's the thing. So, okay, here's the question for you.
Sure.
If you knew that you were funny enough, you know it, and that you could be as successful as these other guys that you mentioned, Greg Fitzsimmons and Chappelle's and Chris Rock, if you could get to that level, would you choose to be a stand-up?
Maybe. Well, anyway.
All right, see you later.
Yeah, see, that's funny. That's kind of what I'm going through right now because growing up, I was always an actor. And I was a good actor. Like I had a scholarship to a performing arts school, and I did the whole thing. I got accepted to Juilliard, and
I have no idea.
Nobody knows it. I don't talk about it. And I ditched Juilliard because I was making good money at the Sea Lion and Otter show, and I thought, well, this will be great. And then 2 years later, I auditioned for Juilliard again, and they said, yeah, we already said yes, just come. And then that summer, I met a guy named James Vasquez, who is a very talented director here in San Diego for theater, very talented person. He was at Juilliard, and he graduated from Juilliard, and his first job out of Juilliard was hosting Pets Rule with me. And so I was like, well, why do I need to go to Juilliard?
Oh, wow.
And that was a huge fucking mistake. But I don't regret anything.
No.
And no, but like at the same time, like who knows? I could have failed.
You never know.
But I was I was an actor, and I loved doing comedy and stuff. But when we produced our own sketch shows, it was all about performance and writing and all that stuff. And only when I got tired of relying on other people did I go into stand up. Because it was like, oh, I can do this on my own.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'd want to be on my own. I really do enjoy being around people. Like I like being by myself for about 2 days, and then like I have to have something. Mm-hmm. I'll just wind up, talking to the 7-Eleven guy for like an hour if that happens.
That's why I have a dog.
Exactly. There you go. It's perfect. So I have jingles. I have jingles at home, and I'm just like, hey, buddy. And he comforts me and looks at me sad like I ruined his life. And it's like having, a kid. And so like that is that's kind of what I'm going through right now is I did a play last year and it was really fun. And like, yeah, why don't I just do more theater? Because it's like, that's obviously what I spent most of my life doing. And I am good at it. I could be better, but I just don't do it enough to stay up to it.
Right.
So really, if I was going to go to LA for anything or even be there more, it would probably be to try to do more acting or sketch comedy or something where I can sink into something a little bit more. Because I don't know. I don't know if anyone cares about what I'm saying right now. Like on this podcast, they must be like,
they completely care what you're talking about.
This guy sounds like an asshole.
No.
And you're right. Like you're not wrong about it.
No, I'm trying to figure out the journey because that's the weird thing. I also feel like with creative people, you want to go off in different directions.
Yeah.
You might want to do a little bit of writing. You may want to do a little bit of acting. You may want to do whatever. But it's always like they're telling you to pick one specific thing that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Always. And especially, it's like they want you to at least get big in one thing, get really big, and then you're allowed to start doing other stuff.
Sure.
But we want to compartmentalize you first into this big category.
But see, I've always encouraged people who are stand-ups and stuff, because when I started doing stand-up, I had already had a fair amount of success in the entertainment industry as a writer and stuff. And I always encourage stand-ups to be like, hey, do as much as you can. Because I was so comfortable on stage as a stand-up, people were like, how are you so comfortable on stage? I'm like, well, I was an actor for like 15 years. Like, you know, like, so I just don't care. You know what I mean? And I would encourage people like, do sketch, like, do, you know, film stuff, do improv, do whatever you want to do it all. Like, there's a place for all of it. Write stuff, you know what I mean? And, but I do think that now that I'm older, I'm 73, now that I'm older, like, if you go to LA, you definitely have to be focused on one of those elements, but I do think it might be easier for you to be successful in one of those places, and then it'll open more doors for you to do other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's weird, because I always thought the opposite. Like, I'll just do 100 things, and then somebody will like that one thing I did, and I can focus on that. Where I think now that I'm almost too old to matter, I'm realizing that it's not ridiculous. You really feel this way. I mean, what are you, 27? I don't even know how old you are.
No, I'm 31.
31. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Basically, 27 to 34, you're the same age. Nothing important happens in your life.
And then I get 35 and I freak out.
Oh, you'll freak out so hard.
Oh, God.
I actually freaked out when I was 33, because that's the year they killed Christ. And I was like, this year's to be significant.
Like, I better look out.
I better look out.
I better look out.
If I see a Roman, I'm going to be real upset.
Run.
Yeah, exactly.
Run.
Just put the nails in my own hand.
Okay, well, I'll get ready to freak out at 33-ish.
Well, I listen, you can have 35. Women, it's
Perfect.
different.
Is it?
Yeah. Only because I don't know. I'm a man, so it's got to be different.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just a matter of... the biggest hurdle is just, where did you feel like you were supposed to be at that age?
Oh, that's the worst.
That's the hurdle.
Yeah.
It's not what other people expect of you necessarily.
So where did you think you were supposed to be at 30? Because 30 was a big one.
30 was a big one. I thought it'd just be kind of, I don't know, making more money in whatever I was doing. I thought I might. And this is when you're young and you think like, I'm gonna get married at 21.
Sure.
I'm gonna, when you're like stupid and you're a child.
Yeah. I'll have 4 kids by 23.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have wanted that as I got older.
Sure.
But you just create this idea of where you're supposed to be. Making a certain amount of money, already in an expensive city. I thought maybe I'd be in some sort of home. That's absurd. Why was I thinking that?
Wait, like a retiree? Like you're what?
No.
Oh.
It's like owning a home, or
gotcha.
at least trying to own a home at that point.
That's not a ridiculous thought. You're just in the wrong city to make that happen.
You're right. You're right. I got friends in other cities that have homes.
I have so many young friends that have homes in other
Yes.
cities, and I want to murder them and take their homes.
In Portland, Oregon, I know some friends with homes. Lovely homes.
Isn't it always frustrating when you see other people's lives in other cities, and it looks so great?
Well, when I visit them, and I ask them, I'm like, what do you pay for this?
Yeah, always.
What do you pay for this? Because I know what I pay for mine.
Yeah.
And it is always less, except they're living in like a 3-bedroom townhome with a yard and a garage and all this other. They have weather, they have rain and snow and whatnot.
But really, you got to think about that's why
they've got so much space, and I'm like, I can't.
my dad is from Ohio, and he still lives in Ohio most of the time. He's a retired, and they do their winters in Florida.
Yeah,
not Jewish,
doing the classic.
Yeah, but they came to our house for Thanksgiving this year, and he was like, this is, this just you guys, your weather out here is just so fantastic and stuff. And he's like, what's your rent? And I told him, and he's like,
He's like, dear God.
And I'm like, that's the thing though. It's like, if you grow up in San Diego, I'll buy a house for a lot less and put up with snow.
Yeah.
But people who live in snow, like, can't fathom that. And you're like, just double your rent, and then you could fathom the snow again.
I've thought about it. I guess I just have to be in an area that made sense to me, though.
Would you ever move?
I'd move for a good reason. I wouldn't just move to buy a house somewhere. That's not enough of a reason, I guess.
I hear that. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'd have to be going for some sort of, I felt like there was meaning behind it.
For like a
Do
Twitch
something
convention
special.
or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna move out there because they did a Twitch convention.
There's a Twitch stadium out by Phoenix, and
I gotta go. Yeah, it's I don't know. I guess those are the things I thought, or maybe I thought I would just be more sure of things.
Yeah.
And that's what you think when you're younger. You think you're going to like hit a magical age, and all of a sudden you're like a grown-up that knows things, and you get it, and you feel real confident. And while I have dialed in many of those things, and I feel way better than I did in my 20s, I think 30s would be better. To be honest, I think the 20s are kind of a shaky, weird time for most of us where we're just going through a lot of journeys and figuring things out. But it's like I almost did think that was going to be some sort of a click where I'd know exactly what the path was. And I don't think it works that way. I'm okay with it, though.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Did you have supportive parents growing up? And you can, be honest. Your parents don't listen, so you can be honest.
Your parents aren't listening to this. Yes, I had supportive parents. I also had parents that encouraged me to be a perfectionist. That was very much encouraged. So it's always like, you're the responsible kid. You're, the one that brings home the A pluses, not the A minuses, the A pluses.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you kind of grow up with that concept, it makes you feel like you're supposed to be doing everything in the right way.
Interesting.
Which doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So it's been a process of kind of shedding that concept and doing things that seem maybe, less responsible fiscally.
Sure. Yeah.
From, for the moment, but hoping it pays off. I'm just like, I feel like time's flying.
It does.
It's just flying. And as soon as I hit 25, it felt like it went 2 times as fast.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, if there's something you want to do, if I want to write or if I want to do more podcasting or if I want to focus my energy in these places, then let's focus our energy on those places. Like, what are we waiting for?
It's something you learn, like just doing it. I think it's specific to having that type of job. And you got comfortable, right?
Yeah. And that started to scare me.
Yeah. I started there when I was 19. And for being a performer, we made good money. We didn't work. I mean, if you were a performer, it wasn't hard work. It was fun. And there was clearly a time where it became not fun anymore. But I was still like, this is so easy. And I'm very comfortable. I don't worry about anything.
No,
it's
stress.
Fine. And then by the time I was like, oh, I should leave, I was like stuck. Because it was just a series, like that's the problem with your 20s. When I was in my 20s, I was like, oh, it's just a series of poor decision making. And it doesn't catch up with you until like your 30s when you're like, oh, I should have done that for I remember the day I decided that I was going to leave. There was several factors that moved in. And by the way, I haven't left officially. I still go in like once every 3 months to do a shift, which is so fun. I don't know why I do it, but it makes me laugh. Like I really want to I don't ever want to quit. But when I decided that I needed to walk away from the corporate gig because I was performing forever, and then I thought, oh, you know what? I should be in the corporate part of it and start doing that kind of thing because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what they tell you to do in these types of jobs. You work your way up.
Yep.
And then I worked my way up, and I got there, and I was like, this is awful. Like, this isn't what I want to do at all.
Yeah.
And
it takes you right out of the creativity of it and just being in the
and what's
performance.
Funny is you think you're in, for me, I thought I was in the creativity of it. I thought I was moving into more creativity. But then once you deal with it, and this is a blanket kind of thing for most corporations. When you get higher up in the corporation part of it, you realize, oh, there's just more regulations. There's more people to tell me no.
Right.
Like you're kind of ignorant before that, where you don't know that there's 10 people that can tell you no. You just know that there's that one person that told you no, and fuck that one person.
Yeah.
Once I become that one person, everything will be, I'll get everything done.
Yeah. Then you look behind the curtain and you're like, wait, there's a whole lot of people back here.
A whole lot of people. It doesn't matter. They're just all telling you no. And about a week before we made the decision to do what we were doing, by this point we had moved to Temecula, and it's a very long drive.
Dear God, you live in Temecula?
Yeah. That's why we kept going, like, hey, I'm going to be here on this day.
Oh.
And this is what it will work.
Yeah.
Because I'm only here for a short amount of time.
Oh, God.
I come to San Diego like once a week.
I can see why.
Yeah. But I love it. Visit my mom. But we moved to Temecula, so I came home from Temecula, and I just laid on the bed, and my wife was sitting there, and I just laid on the bed, and I just started to cry. And she was like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't know why I'm still there. Like, I don't know why I'm there. Like, why am I there? I'm 37. Why am I there? And she was like, I don't know. I've been telling you to quit for like years. And I'm like, I think I just have to do it. And she was like, yeah, you do. And it's that moment where you look back and you go, oh my God, like I've wasted so much time. And then you try to rationalize it for a couple days where you're like, well, I didn't waste time. I I made friends and I got this experience and this experience.
And you did.
And you did, but you also did waste a lot of time. Like, it's like, you really, like, like, people always try to make it all cute and quaincy, like, well, hey, there's a reason for everything. And it's like, sometimes it's because you're stupid. That's why. And like myself included, sometimes that's the reason.
Yeah.
And so it's hard, like, and now that's why I'm so excited that you took the plunge and you left, because we were talking about it before I pushed record, but like, once if you are a creative person, if you have bigger dreams and bigger goals, I would have never thought that a world of opportunity would open up to me, but it literally did. Like, within days, I got phone calls from people who had apparently just been waiting to offer me jobs.
Yeah, because they don't think you're available.
They don't think you're available.
Like, oh, okay, well, they've already got a gig, so I'm not going to ask them to help.
Yeah, he's working at Zero. That's fine. It's probably making $10 an hour or something. He's doing good. Yeah, and then you leave, and then like people are offering me this and offering me that. I'm like, yes, and I just started overworking myself.
Yeah.
But it was like, but I was just so happy, and it's like the last, it's almost been a year now, and the last year has just been so fulfilling. And I know that sounds cheesy as shit, but
it's not. Though.
But it's fulfilling, and I've been free to use my talents and feel like I'm getting something back from people, and that's why I think that I'm excited for you, because you're young still.
Yeah.
Pretty much
youngish.
You're very good at video games.
Hey, I'm okay at them.
But this is the future. This shit's the future.
That is a pretty huge deal there. That's a pretty huge deal.
It's so tiny, and it's such a huge deal.
It's so tiny.
Yeah. I work for a YouTube channel now, and I won't divulge their name because they're more wholesome than what I am. But it is crazy that this is the world that we live in. And that's one of those mistakes I've made in my past, where like I think 2008, we did a sketch show. It's like our last sketch show we ever did as our little group. And at that point, most of the guys had kind of moved on to doing other things, and we all came together again and did a show. And some of the guys were like, we should do, like videos and put them up on YouTube. Back then it was like, YouTube was like a squirrel video.
Yeah.
And like 2 ladder fall videos.
Right.
And then that was it. You know what I mean? It's like there's like nothing happening.
Fully ground floor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I was like, no. Videos aren't.
It's not a thing.
Videos aren't going to be a thing. Live. That's what people want. They want to come to a show.
Yeah. And
we got into a huge fight. And it was a fight that broke up our group for good.
Dang.
And I was a moron. And now people make millions of dollars.
How are you to know? Now there's videos and live streaming.
I think we all could have figured it out.
I guess if we sat down and really thought about it.
It's just me being a stubborn old man.
That's my thought process now, right? If we're thinking about jobs that are going to go away.
Yeah.
Because of the technological advancements and just kind of these new things that we have at our
President
disposal.
is going to be one of them. Yeah. It's a job that's going to go away.
Supercomputer.
Yes.
Can you imagine a supercomputer loaded up with all things that have ever happened in history?
Yeah.
And all human reactions.
I love it.
And just let it make all the decisions for us. Give it all just the facts.
Yeah. There will be no new taxes. Thank you, supercomputer. Yeah.
Thanks. Then you got to look out for the guy that's programming the supercomputer.
Yeah.
It would be a whole thing in its own right.
But I'm all right. I'd vote for it.
Yeah. That'd be the greatest ballot ever. Supercomputer or like,
anyone,
this guy.
Anyone else. Even Barack Obama.
Or
I would
Oprah.
Still do. Oh, God.
Yeah.
You get a tax break and you get
The
a
Rock.
tax break.
If Arnold can do governor, I'm sure
some say he couldn't have done governor. Didn't do governor.
But he was there.
He did do his maid. Thank you.
He did that part.
Sorry, you were talking, though. The jobs that are becoming elite. Or obsolete. Sorry, obsolete.
Yes, so those kind of jobs are going to go away. So I guess my thought process is also like, why are these YouTubers popular? Why do these people get popular? Just for like, people are like, what are you doing? You're just playing games? Or you're just posting videos?
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are they popular? Why do I like the people I like? And I'm like, well, I seem to just like them.
Yeah.
It's like a personality thing. And they're creating good content. But there's something about them that you click with, you think is funny, and it's worth something to you. And that's going to be the thing that's harder to replace in the future.
Yeah.
Is the uniqueness of individual human beings and, our awkwardness.
The weird...
Robots are not going to be awkward. They're going to be perfect. They're going to be great. We're going to be awkward.
I can't wait for robots. And I want to definitely not be able to tell them apart. Like Westworld, I can't wait for Westworld to happen.
Oh, I love that show so much.
I'm excited about season 2, but I want that to happen in real life. So I can just be like having a full-on conversation with somebody and then them be like, "Burr, burr, burr, burr," and I'm like, oh, I was just talking to a robot and be pleasantly surprised.
My bad.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie Ex Machina?
I have. It's so good. It's
That's
really
impressive.
Good.
She's see-through and you're still like, that's person though.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Scary.
That movie's great.
That's scary.
Well, like it is weird to me that we, doing like the gaming thing that you do and what the people I work for do and stuff. Really all they're doing is, and really all that is you're kind of just giving human interaction.
Yeah.
And people were like, well, this is how I want to interact with humans. And I'm like, there's also another way where you can go outside and say hello to somebody. And I know that's like
people
a very...
are terrified of that.
That's what's crazy to me. My wife is one of them. My wife does not... She it's not like she's scared to go outside. But she, like, if I'm like, hey, we could just stay at home tonight and, like, watch MasterChef.
She goes, oh, thank God.
Or we can go out. The people are going out. We can go out. And she's like, yeah, MasterChef's fine. Like, I don't even know why you'd ask me that. And I'm like...
I'm not trying to go outside.
Exactly.
I'm the same kind of person, though. I'm like... I can just be awkward. I can be uncomfortable around people. I'm a little shy. I'm nervous to approach people. So if they're nice to me, that's great. I can open up. But I'm just kind of like, if I go out, I've got earbuds in. Yeah. I have like my mirrored sunglasses, just shutting off all concept of anybody possibly talking to me, almost subconsciously. It's not that I do that on purpose, but I think it just gives me some sort of armor to go outside.
And then how annoyed do you get when somebody does try to talk to you? Like you clearly have a shield over your face, and they're like, excuse me. And you're like, yeah. And they're like, hi. And then they just walk away.
It very rarely happens. It's usually most of my interaction outside is like the guy checking me out at the Trader Joe's. You know, we talk when he's bagging my groceries and stuff. No,
I don't work there. Sorry. Yeah. No, that is very frustrating. When I try to not be talked to, like at work, a lot of times with my old work, I would just read a book. Yeah. And I probably am guilty of doing this to you, so I'm sorry. But like I read a book, and then like somebody will just be like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey." Go back to my book, and then they keep trying to talk to me. I'm like, yeah, clearly I'm reading, and I clearly didn't want to talk to you.
Yeah, that's just basic social cues.
It's very strange.
That a lot of people don't seem to pick up on for whatever reason.
Again, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you.
I never mean to be dismissive either. I did the same thing to my I have new neighbors up here.
Yeah. Why are you whispering? They can't hear you.
I don't know, because that's how nervous I am. I'm such a nervous little person. So anyway, I met them for the first time, but I wasn't expecting it. And that's a problem. If I'm not expecting human interaction, it's almost like I'm not prepared.
Yeah.
And I get nervous. So I was walking out there and I had earbuds in. I had a podcast going. So it kind of already got talking in my ears. Shut the door and I turn around. They're right there introducing themselves. And I was like, oh, hello. And I was like, what am I supposed to say? My name's Courtney.
Yeah.
Just, I'm all weird. Didn't hear their names, right? Because I'm too busy listening to my own inner monologue.
Got it.
Being an awkward human being.
Yeah.
I can barely hear them, and I'm not just thinking like, take an earbud out, turn the I got the AirPods, I could just tap them and turn the podcast off for a second. Not thinking of any of those things, just like got to get through this conversation, barely hearing the other person I'm talking to. So I just said some pleasantries. I was like, I'm right over here. It's nice to meet you guys. I think he might have said something to me as I was walking away. Sure. I'll never know. Because I couldn't quite hear him.
And you'll never talk to them again.
And he may think I was rude and just walked away from him when he said
definitely thinks you're rude. Yeah.
I was like, oh God, I hope he didn't say something.
Do you ever go to like people's houses and their neighbors come over to hang out and you're like, what is this?
No, I see that over here next to me all the time.
I went to a friend's house for a party. We had like a little party and a small gathering and they had neighbors. Their neighbors came over.
Yeah.
To party, and they were like all buddy, and they like clearly all hung out like a lot. And then my mind went, oh, they're swingers. Because like I can't.
Like, this isn't normal.
Yeah, I can't fathom neighbors hanging out. There has
normal.
to be something sexual happening for that to make sense.
These other neighbors across the way too. They have a little party space up top there, and they're always like, hey, we're having a party. Feel free to come over and hang out. We've got drinks and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, that's so friendly. That's so wonderful. In my head, I'm like, I could never do that.
Yeah.
And somehow I'd feel like a nuisance. I feel like if I walk into a place where I don't know a bunch of people, then everybody looks at me like, who's this? Why is that person here? Right? Like, who is that person?
Yeah.
Not like they're open and like, oh, look, a new individual. Nice to meet you. I assume that people are just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Which is why I don't do things like go over to my neighbor's place and go to the party. But you know what? I feel like that might just be normal.
Yeah, I think it is more normal than, no, I'm with you. I think like that's what most people do.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, but then someone's going to ask me a question and I don't want to answer it. Like and like that's the worst.
Then what?
So I'm going to compare something and it probably won't be correct. But so haven't been single in so long. And so the whole world that is around
and I've been
now.
single for so long.
Yes.
So I'm an expert in that.
So that's fascinating to me to be single in this day and age. I wouldn't even begin to know or understand, and I definitely don't want to. So I'm not opening up that Pandora box. But but I can only imagine being a single, attractive female at a bar is equivalent to me going to like a family dinner and someone telling them that I do stand-up. Because like
do
all I
something
get,
for us. Tell a joke.
Do something, tell a joke. What is it like doing stand-up? Oh, I like stand-up. I saw Eddie Murphy's special.
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Like
I did it this one time. I was pretty good.
Exactly.
I was pretty good at it. I should have kept it going.
Yeah. I was a good stand-up for a long time. Oh, yeah? How many shows you do? Oh, I like 6 or 7. I could have done it. I could have been good.
I got busy.
Yeah. For the amount of like terrible conversation I'm forced into.
Yeah.
I can only imagine it's like that being a single girl going to a bar.
Hey, I'm starting to forget what it's like because I'm in bars so infrequently now.
Oh, good for you.
So I don't even put myself in I like beverage, but I like home beverage or like friends at home beverage.
Yeah.
Going into the bars are cool. I'm running into this problem where I feel like I'll see guys looking, but they don't necessarily approach.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people are getting worse at that. And then if they do approach, it tends to be some of the drunker ones or whatever. Maybe I could be just in the wrong
given
places.
the current climate, it's probably guys are probably feeling a little bit
nervous.
Nervous, thank you. Yeah, like I'm going to go up to, hey, what's up? What's your name? And then you're going to like throw a Me Too sticker on my forehead and I have to run off.
First of all, it was abuse. I wasn't ready to be talked to.
Yeah.
It was in my space.
That's true though. Like some guys, I guarantee you are like, I don't want to risk it. I don't want to risk it. I'll just go to Tinder.
Yeah, that's better. That way I know that we want to both talk.
Exactly.
That's the problem too, right? And then I talk to a lot of my guy friends, and they're like, well, I don't want to approach girls because when I approach them sometimes, I try to be nice, and then they just shut me down. They turn their back on me. They ignore me.
Yeah.
And like, how many times can I face that rejection a night?
It's true.
And I said, I completely understand that because I'm not expected to have to go do that stuff for the most part. Like, nobody thinks that I should have to go and talk to all the men at the bar that I think are cute, right?
Yeah.
So I get that. So if I'm ever approached by people, despite the fact that I'm such a nervous little person, I'm always very polite until I'm given a reason to not be polite. And then I just move away.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like while the apps are very convenient and they're great because they open you up to a lot of people that you'd never run into, they are, I think are making people more uncomfortable to talk to each other in person too. I think that attributes to it.
That's it. My wife and I, we met on Facebook, kind of, sort of. We were connected through her best friend. And
friends of friends.
Friends of friends. And that's how we started talking, was talking to each other that way.
That's the way.
And then we went from there and we started texting. And then we went from texting to, hey, let's go out. And the first time we hung out, it was like the most awkward thing because I was like, hi. Hey.
I thought you were going to say it was magical.
Well, I mean, eventually.
Eventually it's magical, yeah.
I mean, that night was, had all of the things, but one of the things it had was our first actual voice talk with each other,
Whoa.
So it was like, we didn't know how it was going to go, and it's very strange. Now that was 7 years ago, so now it's only got to be doubled, that's like for people because there's so many other ways to talk to somebody without talking to them.
Oh, exactly. It's so different too. Somebody writing something to you and then you almost like start to create what you think their voice would be like, or you create this kind of image of them.
Yeah.
And so you've built something up that's completely with your own imagination, and then you have to go meet this person, and it puts you automatically in a place where you're comparing it to what you created.
Yeah.
If it's not the voice you expected, I thought he was a little taller. Oh, I thought that, like there's all these things that come into play right off the bat when you first get there.
Yeah.
Where you guys are sizing each other up for the first minute.
Yeah.
And that's bizarre.
It's so weird.
It's a bizarre way to meet people, and it's like an unfair expectation that gets placed on it.
Yeah.
Because you're automatically comparing it to an
mind.
imagined thing.
Totally.
What?
No, there's no way that this will fail. Everything will be fine. The future of the world is secure.
Anyways, do you watch Black Mirror?
No, I don't.
What are you, crazy? You watch Westworld but not Black Mirror?
Well, I mean, yeah. So I have
You're
a kid.
nuts.
I have a kid, Courtney.
I have
you're an very adult. Few times that
You're
I can
an
like,
adult.
hey, what are we watching tonight? Because we get one. You know what I mean? Before one, I usually fall asleep. And two,
yeah. Did you used to write for kid shows?
I did.
How did you get into writing?
I just started mailing people letters. And no, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen.
Dear sir.
Dear sir, do you like this writing?
If so, text me. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Do you like the game Snake? I did not get into it in a conventional way at all. I was the sketch comedy that I speak of. We started doing our own shows. Like, so when I was 20, we decided that we would rent a theater and put on our own sketch shows. Because at the time in San Diego, none of that was happening. There was only...
You were just choosing yourself. You were
Yeah.
like, we'll create the
And I
scene we
should
want.
have done more of that in my 20s, and I did not. But there was only like an improv group, and there was the Comedy Store in La Jolla, and that was it for comedy in San Diego. And so we were like, oh, we could do this. And we did it, and it was very successful. But the whole point of it was to write everything, and we didn't know how to write. So it was like sitting down and literally just writing. Like the first probably 10 scripts I wrote were just on lined paper with pencil and just me writing it out and writing and then using a copier and copying the scripts from people. And then it got a little bit better and a little bit better as far as like how I wrote. And then, I mean, that's pretty much how I started writing was just, it was kind of out of necessity that we were writing our own material and we needed to figure it out and teach ourselves. And we kind of, through audience reactions, we learned what worked and what we had to do. I read some books about it. There was a great book that Monty Python put out called All the Words, where it was every single script that they had written from Flying Circus in a book. So it was like we would go through and we would read. I would just read their scripts, and it was almost like their pacing and what they did was a big thing for us, especially doing sketch. They also had a great documentary at the time that just come out for Monty Python that talked about, not Monty Python, Kids in the Hall, that talked about how they wrote and how they would pair up and do stuff. And it was just fascinating because you don't know, like who knows,
You don't.
Besides doing it, you're on your own.
Yeah.
And script is so different than everything else. And then I wrote a play, and by some weird stroke of luck, somebody was like, hey, I want to do this play. And it was really bad. And
Bad to you?
no, pretty much bad to everybody. And then I was like, oh, this is stupid. We shouldn't do this anymore. And then we kept writing sketches. And then my buddy Nick and I decided that we would write a play together. And that one was actually pretty successful. And we were excited about that. So at the same time we were doing all of that, I was in a band, and our band was going on tour with the Aquabats. And we started opening for them, and then they took us on the road. And while we were on the road, they had started talking about the fact that they had just had a pilot that they made that didn't get picked up, and they wanted to make an animated show. And would me and another guy in the band, Gorney, would we want to help them write, because they found out that we wrote sketch comedy. And so we were like, sure. And so on tour for like 2 months, we were just sitting there and joking and writing down jokes, and that was very fun. And we got back and we kept going a little bit more, and then we didn't really hear anything from anybody. And then like a year later, one of the guys from the Aquabats, I mean, we would talk to them.
Yeah.
They became friends of ours. But about a year later, they were like, hey, we have this idea for another show. Would you want to help us write the show, the pilot of the show? It's called Yo Gabba Gabba. And we were like, yeah. Because the music they wanted to do was like hip hop based, and the band we were in was like an old school Run DMC style band. And so we like the simple drum beat, call and response kind of hip hop stuff. And so they initially brought us on to do a lot of the music for the pilot. And then we started writing like little scripts here and there and doing voices and stuff. And then the show got picked up and was a hit. People really like it.
Yep.
We got paid $300 for the first season of Yo Gabba Gabba. We wrote a couple songs. One of them was Party in My Tummy, which was a big hit. And then that was like, there's a book about Party in My Tummy. And we got paid $300.
What's going on there?
It's what happens. Kids TV, you don't get paid much. Anyway, there's not a lot of unions that work in kids TV. So that kind of hurts you. And then it was all based on like, well, maybe this will work. Like, we didn't know.
Right.
We were writing a pilot. You never know.
Right.
And then it just blew up huge. And I'm like, oh, shit. And we were really bummed. But the good part of that was that we established a good working relationship with the guys. And so we worked on Yo Gabba for a couple seasons, and then they got a deal through a new network called the Hub Network, which is no longer around, to do the Aquabat Super Show. And we were brought on to staff there. Me and Gorney, we were writing partners at the time. And we wrote there for 2 seasons, and then that show folded, the network folded. And while we were working in that show, though, Disney Animation was working on a pilot with the creators of Yo Gabba Gabba and Aquabats, and they brought me in to help write the show Bible and do development and stuff like that. And then because of that and the Aquabats, I got asked to do, like, my name just kind of got passed around through people. So I ended up doing development at Nick Jr. for a show called Shimmer and Shine, which is very popular now. Nice. I wrote for a show called Sanjay and Craig, doing some stuff for them at Nickelodeon. I've done a couple throwaways for Disney development department. So it was not conventional at all. Like,
and
I didn't
because
like,
you're in a band.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Like, all the years of sketch comedy really don't mean anything because it did not lead me to that place.
Yeah.
All that helped is that I figured out how to write a script. And then I was in a band, and then the other band was like, hey, you know how to write a script. Can you write this script? And then I said, sure. And I don't even know if it was good. I couldn't tell you if it was good.
You're like, but I did it.
But I did it. And
you
then
had the chance to do it. Well, it's that thing, too. If, like, somebody offers you an opportunity, you just be like, yep.
Yeah.
And then figure it out.
Yeah. It was, I mean, my career in my life is, I apologize. Hold on.
No, you're fine.
This is what it's like. You don't have to edit this out. This is what it's like when you're grown up and you're working on your own, Courtney. You're going to figure this out pretty soon. If you are out of it for an hour, all hell breaks loose. It doesn't matter. I could be like non-responsive for 30 minutes and like maybe like Trump just died. Like, I don't know, like the worst things.
You're a fancy man with a fancy life.
I don't know if it's a good thing, but it's really frustrating.
A lot of things to juggle.
It's
you know
annoying.
what I'm saying?
I know. I'm going to leave here and have to take 10 phone calls, and all of them will just me going, yeah, yeah, okay, bye, and that's it. Now
okay,
leave
thanks.
me alone.
But then your life is back in order and you're all good.
For at least another hour.
There you go.
What people don't realize is that I have to drive home, and it's going to be like 2-hour drive home because it's Friday, and I'm going the way everyone goes to Vegas. But anyway, that's my life. I owe most of what I have done in life, and I do consider to be successful in what I do because I get to do it. So if you are listening to this and you're out feeling like I got a dead-end job, just get out of it. Because guess what? There's always another dead-end job waiting for you. Always. It'll always be there.
There's so much more.
There's so much more. There's like, if you are unhappy and you're like, I don't want to be unhappy anymore, but I can't get out of it, there will always be another unhappy place for you to land. Try 6 months of being happy and maybe being broke. But just try it. And if you can figure it out, then good. And if you can't, go back to being unhappy and then just go out to the clubs every night and drink. But like,
that's perfect life advice.
Yeah. But like when I went to school, when I was performing arts high school, our teacher there, Bill Doyle, he really instilled in us to just figure it out. Figure it out. You're going to be the lighting designer. I don't know how to do lighting design. Okay, well, figure it out.
Yep.
And then I literally had to go figure it out. I'm an actor. I'm not going to be a lighting designer. But then because I will direct theater from time to time, and I'll help produce theater from time to time. I've done that over the last 20 years or so here and there. And knowing that skill comes into play all of the time. Working in radio, knowing how to work a board, all of that knowledge. Like, it's just figuring it out. No one has ever come to me and handed me a job that was like, oh, you don't have to worry about figuring anything out anymore. Here's a job. This job's called the Dallas job, and you just had to be you.
Just be you. It's perfect.
Oh, okay, great. Like, no one's done that. Mm-hmm. So, like, every job I've been handed jobs. Like, working in radio, literally was a guest on a radio show, and the guy liked me so much that he just said afterwards, "You want to work here?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I had to figure out what that was.
Yeah, how to do all the rest of the pieces.
And 7.5 years later, I was fired. But it's still... And just when I figured it out, too, that was the worst part.
That's hilarious.
Because
you were meant to figure another thing out.
Exactly.
That's part of the journey.
But that's it. Like, writing, I just figured it out. And I don't besmirch anyone who goes to school for it. Like, too, I don't, like, if I would have gone to school for acting... Me. No, that's the thing. No, because I seriously, like, if I would have gone to school for acting, I would be in a better position for acting right now.
Sure.
Like 100%.
Sure.
But I didn't, and now I am not. Because that's, school is great to make connections and meet friends and all that stuff. And you do learn a lot of good stuff. So it's like, anybody wants to go to school for writing, do it. The only thing that you have to realize is that to do something that's like a writing gig or to do something that's like a performance gig or anything, the end result is doing it. Mm-hmm. Like, you can learn it for 4 years, but then you're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
So I just decided that I would skip all that and just start doing it.
That's the magic of our time. We can do that now.
There's
so many ways to learn how to do anything. Ways. Well, I'll let you get out of here.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut it off.
No, you're fine.
I enjoy talking to you. I'm a fan of your podcast. I'll be honest, I haven't listened to all of them, but I do, like, probably once a month I turn it on.
Yeah.
Because podcast, you brought it up earlier. We've talked, when we worked together, we talked about podcasting, and I was excited that you did one.
Yeah. I was trying to soak up your knowledge.
Stupid.
You've been doing it a lot longer than I have.
I have been doing it. I was one of the, and I don't, here's the fun thing. Nothing to be boastful about. I was one of the first people in San Diego to have a podcast.
That's a big deal.
There's nothing to show for it other than the fact that I said it. But I used to host a podcast called Everything's Fine for a long time, and we might bring that back too. We just talked about it last night. And then I do a sports podcast, which was the first non-team affiliated sportscast in San Diego, non-media or team affiliated podcast called The Kept Faith, which is still around. We still do it. We did a live event last night at Bay City Brewing. Very fun. And as you're probably experiencing, the world of podcasting now is so huge.
Yeah.
The amount of engagement that we get in the last year has tripled what we were getting before. And nothing has changed other than the fact that people are starting to catch up with technology.
Right.
And so it is like the podcasting is such a wonderful outlet. Because look, we got to talk and do all this. We wouldn't have done this otherwise. There's no way.
No.
I mean, I wouldn't have minded it.
Sure.
But would you ever blindly called me and said, hey, you want to just sit and talk for an hour?
I know you've got like a life and a wife and a child and like all these things going on.
Yeah.
Do you want to just hang out for like an hour?
Yeah. Like we did it at work. But that was only because we were kind of forced to.
You have to do, you're sitting in the same place.
We're the only two people in a room. And I'm like, you can do whatever you want to do.
I guess we should talk or something.
Exactly.
I know. It's really convenient.
But you learn about people.
You do.
And you learn, and people who are listening might gain something from something one of your, like I'd listened to your Jeff Wilson one, and it was so fun. I love Jeff Wilson.
He's hilarious.
And I think even not knowing Jeff Wilson, you would love that episode because he's so contagious and in a bad way.
Yeah.
And he's a delight. So I'm happy for you doing it. And I want to encourage people out there. If you want to do a podcast, you can do it. Isn't that weird?
It's crazy.
You could literally just do it. You
can.
have a phone. You know how many episodes I've recorded on my phone?
Yeah.
It's stupid.
They've made it so simple for us.
The world is stupid. Like, I hate how easy it is to do everything now.
To just communicate to anybody and everybody.
When I was 20, Courtney, I know I got to go. I'm the self-imposing one, and I'm getting mad. When I was 22, it was 2002. 9/11, fresh on the mind.
Yeah.
I don't know why I brought that up. But it was
a big moment.
Never forget.
Yeah.
To think of any of what we're doing now would be an impossibility. It would be like if someone's like, hey, we should fly some planes into a building. That's how impossible that idea would be, that we'd be sitting here.
Pure madness.
Recording, or me just going, I have a phone, and on the phone is everything I've ever wanted to know, and also most things I want to do. And I can just do it. It's like, it doesn't even make sense.
So give it another decade. I'll see you in the VR world.
I'm so scared of that. Have you done the VR things with the things?
Only like really basic experiences. I want to do like the Vive one where you're like in a room and moving about in space.
There's that one that my friend just did, the Star Wars one that was in Anaheim, where you would like go in and fight stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And like you went into a room and it was everywhere around you and you had to go from place to place. That's scary.
Talk about people not going outside.
Seriously. But I did one for kids. I guess I don't know. Maybe it wasn't for kids. I did one for kids. It was this guy throwing balls at me. No, it was like a tame thing.
Yeah.
But it was like a shark hunter thing or something. Like you get lowered into a ocean, like you're on a shark exploration or something. I don't know. And then a shark goes and tries to get you. I was like frightened.
And your body legit reacts.
It legit reacts.
I want to put that on and then go and stand on the top of like a cliff in the VR world, not in a real life
I was
way.
gonna
Like
say,
in a
wow,
safe, like
so
in a
you want to
safe
kill
room,
yourself? Like, I'm
but like in a
confused.
safe room.
Sure.
But in my mind,
Yeah.
my body will think I'm standing at the edge of a cliff.
Yeah.
And you'll feel the vertigo.
Do you also think we're not supposed to do that to our bodies?
Yes. I think this is all insanely cool.
Yeah.
And probably not what we're supposed to be
Not
doing.
at all.
But we're just barreling in that direction.
It feels like people were like, oh, you didn't want to try mushrooms? Well, fuck you. Because now you're going to have to try
all
this.
doing it.
Yeah. My buddy Zoltan has a really funny stand-up bit where he says, like about social media. Yeah, Zoltan.
I like that name.
Zoltan Kazis.
Whoa.
He's Turkish or something, but he's from here.
Okay.
His mom was a gypsy. It's great. Very funny stand-up. If you like legit, like there's another stand-up where I'm like, I'll never be as funny as Zoltan, and he's my friend, and I hate him. But he has this great bit that he talked about, like social media. He's like, do you ever think that we're not supposed to know everything about everybody? Like we're just not supposed to. He's like, I'd go to my mechanic. I'm like, oh, Dave's my mechanic. Yeah, Dave's a really nice guy. Mm-hmm. That's great. And then now I go to Dave. He's my mechanic. I go to Dave. I get home and he's friended me on Facebook. And I'm like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll be friends with Dave on Facebook. And we find out Dave's a Nazi. Like,
right?
Like I'm not supposed to know that about Dave.
No.
He's just supposed to be the mechanic I like.
You're like, this might affect our relationship a little.
Now I can't go see Dave. I liked Dave, and now I can't because he's a Nazi.
You can't. There's no going back at that point.
It's I don't know what's going on, but we're all going to die. Not
It's going to happen either way.
Not today.
That's going to happen either way, though.
What
Technology
is
or
this?
not.
Oh, okay.
We'll get
That's
there.
part of your controller.
There you go. Video game stuff.
What's your favorite podcast to listen to?
Rogan.
Rogan, really?
Yeah.
You commit to the 4-hour journey that is a Joe Rogan podcast?
I love it. I'll like walk around the house and do chores or like go on errands and just leave it in my ears. I get a lot of steps in.
Walking around with Rogan.
I do. It's interesting.
I listened to 3 episodes of Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I'm still listening to some of them.
Well, yeah, they take
They're
time.
so long.
They take time. I skipped the MMA ones.
I don't blame you.
I mean, he talks to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm going to listen to that.
That's a fun one.
You know what I'm saying?
But then I get really upset because Mike, is deGrasse Tyson just getting high? And then do I believe anything he says?
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
And we don't need to know.
No, because he's dead now.
You're crazy. Where can people find you?
On this podcast.
Yes, here.
And right now. You can just rewind it.
There we go. Start it over.
Rewind it. Or you could just rewind it. I'm on, you can follow me on Twitter at Dallas_MC is my Twitter handle. Or I guess you can follow me on Instagram at Dalskips, DALSKIPS. But really mostly it's pictures of my daughter. And yeah, that's where you can find me. Facebook, please don't. I'm so done with it.
It's a questionable place.
It's a question. Like now it's all for promotion for me. But it's the only thing it's there for. Once in a while I'll post something that will just stir up a bunch of controversy and problems just because I'm bored.
Great. Now I have to have all this conversation on.
Yeah, I'll just be like, hey, you know who's a Nazi? Trump. And then I'll just leave that.
And Dave.
And Dave, exactly. My mechanic. And then I just wait for the storm. And then, or the text from my wife going, why did you post that? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. But those are 2 places. And feel free to listen to the podcast, The Kept Faith. If you like San Diego sports, then that's the spot for you to go.
Awesome.
Oh my God.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dallas.
Yeah.
That's it for this one, you guys. If you want to hear me talk more in depth about why I quit my job, I wrote a blog and recorded a special podcast just specifically for that purpose. So check those out. Find me everywhere online at Courtney Diamond and at CourtneyDiamond.com. If you happen to love video games, I'm live streaming them on Twitch these days at twitch.tv/Courtney Diamond. So pop in there and say hello next time I'm live. And as always, subscribe and maybe leave a nice rating or comment on iTunes if you want to show your support. I would very much appreciate it and love to hear from you. Hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you soon.